last couple of videos, we looked at the 200 block of Huron Avenue, and I found this postcard that I hadn't put on before, and I realized that there was another business on this corner where Mark's Jewelry and the First National Bank was at one time. And that's this one right here, Brown Credit Jewelers. You can also see the Mosher clock right there. And some pretty unique looking automobiles. I think maybe the artist took some liberties with the color of these cars, because I would be surprised if most of them weren't black. Alright, let's turn around and face south and look at the 100 block of Huron Avenue. The west side of this street has changed a lot over the years. The east side of the street hasn't changed much at all. Different businesses, but the building pretty much the same. So let's look at this building that takes up the whole east side of the block of 100 Huron Avenue. I think we'll find that you've got another historical building on your hands here. Perhaps even the oldest building in the city. I believe this building has gone through 3 different centuries. There are a couple of things to look for in this building that are unique. First of all, we're back to the windows, counting the windows and looking at where they're at. Secondly, the supports on that upper ledge in the front. That upper ledge was just on the front, it wasn't around the side. What you see on the side here was added later, probably when they renovated the building. The other thing to look for is this area right here. The section at the end of the building beyond the windows, a small rectangular shape. It's been filled in the current building, but at one time there was a window or a door there. Probably a door. Notice that it's smaller than the other windows. Nice thing about this building is that it was near the bridge and the ferry docks, and so there was a lot of pictures of it either in the background or of the building itself. Alright, that took care of the 21st century. Let's go to the 20th century and probably the early 1900s, as we see here in this picture. And if you look closely, you can see the same supports, the same front ledge on the roof level. And especially if you look along the side of the building, you can see that little rectangle. Now it's no longer filled in, but it is looks like a door or a window. It's probably a door, because the windows usually set a couple feet off the floor, and a door would go right to the floor level, and you can see that would be at the floor level. Also looks like it has some horizontal safety bars on the bottom part there to keep you from walking out on that big step. Why would they have a door there? I don't know. It could have been for air circulation. No air conditioning in those days. You open a door at the hallway and it let the air circulate through the hallway on the other side, or the windows. Or it could have just been a bathroom window. Who knows? But it does help identify the building. Alright, let's go to the 19th century now, and I believe it's still the same building. Same number of windows in the front. You have looks like a dock on the front now. Chimneys are in the same place, and that front ledge on the roof line in the front, but not on the side, is the same. Windows look the same. I believe it's the same building. That makes it a very old building, because the information on this picture says it was taken in 1857. So why did this building last and all the other buildings in this time period didn't? Well, I think this is the only brick building I see in town as we look through this picture. And you know the story about the 3 pigs, right? Alright, let's look at some of the businesses that have been here at this location over the years. And in the 80s, we see that it was a bank, NBD, Fort Huron branch. In the 1960s, Shaker Tuma had a menswear store there in the corner, and Sabilla Shoes was also there, located in the same building. In the 50s, Sabilla Shoes was still there, but Junior Vogue was also there instead of Shaker Tuma. In the 40s, Edwards Furs was located there in the corner, and Hagars was also located there. If you recall, Hagars was located in a previous video on the 200 block of Huron. Of course, that was much earlier in the century. In this aerial photo, you can see Hagars as well. You see the signage there on the bottom right But you also see something else. You see the protrusion coming out almost like a porch in the front of the building. At first I thought it was just an awning, but actually you have awnings coming off of that roof line. So the extra space was either for extra retail space or it was for a weather barrier in between the climate and the inside of the store. In the 30s, Hagars was still there, but on the corner was Rough Floral Shop. And they may have been there into the 40s because it seems like I remember them being there, and I was born in the 40s, so maybe sometime in that area. This photo shows what Fortune looked like in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and you can see here that the building that we're looking at was occupied by J.J. Bell, a piano store, John J. Bell. It was officially listed as Bell Music Store. He was a dealer in pianos, organs, musical instruments, and also sheet music. And also you see some other signage here too. Fortune Savings Bank pays interest on deposits. A quaint idea. But it wasn't really located at this store. If you read the small print in between, it says Opera House Block. So it's on the other side of the river. Bell Music Store was there for almost 25 years. Also, the Port Huron Sarnia Ferry office was in that building. And you can see the ferry there, and also the writing there on the shed beside the ferry. Ask your grocer, our biscuit. A.B. Company, Port Huron. I couldn't find an A.B. Company in the directory, but there was an Aikman Brothers bakery, so that's a possibility. Here's a postcard that was made off of the previous photo. It'll give you a little better idea of what it looked like. It's always better to see something in color, even though maybe the colors weren't completely true. It helps. Sometime prior to Bell Music being there, there was a ferry lunchroom in the building, as you can tell from the sign on the side of the building. Once again, we see a postcard being made from the previous photo. Here's a much better photo of the building. In the 1800s, we see that there was a grocery store here, Charles Wellman Groceries, produce and provision. And we still see the Port Huron Sarnia Ferry running out of this location. And to the left of the ferry dock, we see the sign saying Axman the Hatter. And that was a shop run by Philip Axman over on Military Street. In this photo from the 1800s, you can see that the building has a sign on the side that says C. Noyes, which stood for Charles Noyes. This is the same business that Silas Ballantyne was a partner in. The Ballantynes from the Ballantyne across the street became quite well known as a dry goods store in that corner. Prior to Noyes, it was owned by Wallace Gibson. Wallace is the one that hired Silas Ballantyne originally, but we talked about that in a previous video. This is the earliest known photograph of Port Huron, taken about 1857. And here we can see that the store is the same, but the signage, we can't quite make out what it is there, and there's no city directories that go back that far. It is an interesting photograph to look at, though. You can look down Huron Avenue here and see the different stores. You can see Central Hotel right there on the corner, and of course the Military Street Bridge, the old one there in the foreground. There is a little bit of a mystery connected to this corner though, and that's this picture right here. This drawing appeared in the 1871 city directory, It had no caption and no description about what it was at all. It certainly appears to be a courthouse. But the location, if you look at it, looks like it should be right on the corner of the building that we've been looking at. But how is that possible, since the building we looked at goes all the way back to 1857 or further? There's really only two explanations. One, it was on that site before the building that we've been looking at, which means that we've been back in the cowboy era, with stagecoaches and cowboys going in front rather than carriages that look like it was designed more for the later part of the 1800s. Also, I think this is just a sketch or a drawing. The artist took certain liberties. If you look in the background, you can see the ships, which would have been probably in Black River. But beyond that, it appears to be mountains or hills, which doesn't coincide with Black River or even St. Clair River. Here's my theory about this picture. From 1860 to 1870, Port Huron was desperately trying to get the county seat moved from St. Clair to Port Huron. And they said they would build a new county courthouse if they would move the county seat to Port Huron. I believe that this is a preliminary sketch of the courthouse that they were going to build for the state of Michigan, for the county. And this is pretty much what the courthouse they built looked like. It was just at a different location, where McMorran is now. Look at this sketch of the courthouse that they were going to build, and look at the courthouse that they actually built and see the similarities in them. This is a sketch of the actual courthouse that was built. And you see the main difference is the cupola looks different, and of course there was more stairs going up to the first floor. Here's an actual photograph of that courthouse after it was built. We know that the courthouse before this one was located on Court Street. According to this bird's eye map from 1867, the courthouse was located on Court Street between 6th and 7th Street. We know that the building on the left burned down in 1873, and at the time this map was made, the building across the street where you see the number 7 in the doorway, according to the legend, that was the courthouse. But in 1871 directory, it says that the city council was meeting on the 2nd floor of the building that we've been looking at, number 2, Huron Avenue. Why were they meeting here? I don't know. Perhaps they were having the court proceedings done at the house on the map, the courthouse on the map, and maybe the council meetings were held on the 2nd floor because it was more convenient and closer to town. Who knows? Like I said, it's a mystery. I'm going to close this video looking down Huron Avenue in the Louis Pesha postcard. You could always tell his postcards because he always made sure that his name was on them. If you look in this bottom right hand corner, you'll see a Pesha photo. And while most postcards were colored in those days, Louis Pesha just had his as the photo showed it itself. I mean, it was a photo in the form of a postcard. His postcards are much sought after because they're different from most cards you see from that day. Here's some postcards that took his original photo and made postcards out of them. Whether he got paid for it or not, I don't know, but you can see that they're colored in. This postcard has been colored in such a way to make it look like it was nighttime with the same Louis Pesha photo. There's something to be said for both types of postcards. You can see the strings of light over Huron Avenue, those light bulbs there, easier in this postcard than you can in the original. Pesha was born in Canada, but came here to the United States in 1901, and he settled in Marine City. This is what the River Road in Marine City looked like during that period of time. Pretty primitive. And here we see Mrs. Pesha standing in front of their photo store in Marine City. This is the only known photograph of Pesha And actually he's taken a picture, which was pretty much his normal thing to do, especially of the Great Lakes and the rivers around Port Huron and Marine City. This photo shows that he may have had two businesses side by side here, the Pesha Art Company and then the Marine Photo Gallery Company, and I wouldn't be surprised if that was his too. And out front he wasn't beyond advertising. You can see the Pesha signs and photographs as he tools around town in his car. Pretty good advertising. This is the signage that was on the Pesha photo studio, and we can also see Mrs. Pesha here in their white automobile. It was a 1910 model, top of the line, and the only one registered in Marine City. In 1912, Pesha was visiting his parents in Ontario with this automobile, and he died when this car overturned and his skull was fractured. But Pesha's legacy lives on even today. In our next video, we'll look at the other side of the 100 block of Huron Avenue.